Hello everyone and welcome back to Apex Online Racing for round 9 at Monza. This is of course the PS4 F2 League, and joining me in the commentary box as ever is Shane.
Hello. We've had 2 weeks away from the season. Quite a lot has been shuffled around. We've had some drivers go and got some new drivers come in. So it's time to adjust ourselves to that. We've got the likes of Pit Matt, who's in the Sauber, and Cherry Pie, who is in the Renault, I think. Is in the Renault?
I think he's in the McLaren. We'll find out though.
Okay, brilliant. We're going to find out in time.
I'm not sure. But yeah, we're here at Monza, and well, it usually provides good racing. Obviously the slipstream isn't as strong on this game as it has been on previous iterations of the Co-Masters F1 series, so that could mean it's a bit more difficult for the drivers to overtake, but usually provides a good race.
Alright, so now we've got the first 20 seconds to make sure the drivers will load up their setups, and then we'll see a flurry of activity in the pit lane. In terms of the championship, things have kind of opened up over the last couple of races. Got Iceman on top still with that amazing record of not failing to finish outside the top 5 so far this season, on 131 points. Tactician in second place is 12 points behind, and then we've got Peter Stockwin in third, the other main title contender. The outsider, as it were, is 34 points behind, as we've got someone heading out onto the track.
Yeah, so obviously this is round 9 of the championship. We've had the previous 8 rounds, so that's 7 left to go in this championship. Last time it was McGrady who took the win, banishing those hungry nightmares that I'm sure he'll still be thinking about. And Cherry Tupai is indeed in the McLaren. But Iceman did finish second in that race, so he extended his championship lead by a further 6 points above Tactician. So it's looking good for him in the championship, and you know, I think what most people say about having to win a championship is you've got to be consistent, and as you just said, Shane, Iceman has done that in abundance so far this season.
Amazingly, he's only had 2 races where he's been off the podium as well. 5th in Australia and 4th in Britain. Every other race has been on the podium, so that consistency is currently giving him the lead of the championship now. And we've got some fantastic inside information from one of the drivers, and they have told me that it's going to be a wet to dry race.
Oh, I have also received this information, so that is good to hear. So going to spice up the action, and obviously this means a few maybe setup changes for the drivers, and trying to find out who is the first out on track. I don't know if you could work it out. Cherry Tupai seems like he's quite far on that. Cronex, I think, is slightly further. We usually see the Ferrari out pretty early in these qualifying sessions, so I'll follow on board with the Ferrari driver. The only Ferrari here today, so he didn't have his teammate for support. But he currently finds himself 10th in the standings on 29 points. So he'll be looking to bring home a few more points for Ferrari today. But on the run down to turn 1, it's a big braking zone, this, all the way down to second gear for most drivers. Cronex is using third for the first apex and then down into second to get that extra rotation. And going down to second there just usually gives you a little bit better traction, which is so important around this track as you head through Curva Grande and down into the second chicane, looking for that 100-metre board. Using 4th gear, and the rear end was all over the place there, and that's his lap surely ruined. To Cherry Tupai, who's taking it very gingerly through there.
Yeah, he's walloped the inside curb in the first part of the chicane, which completely messes up your line for the second part. Ideally, you want to cut the corner slightly so that you get your front left on the curb. And Griggs has had an accident, I think. Yes, he has.
Yeah,
he's had an accident out the second Lesmo.
Well, that's
quite
a new
long
one.
Way down from the second Lesmo, actually.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's lost the car on exit, and then he's just continued the crash. Jundu's coming up to the side of this crash now as Iceman sets provisional pole. And oh my god! I think RC Griggs has just parted across the track for the drivers. Jundu feeling the need to take avoiding action. I don't know if he just lost it out of the gravel trap. I don't really know what happened there, but Iceman's gone on provisional pole with a 21-2. And Cronexus, no surprises to see him 7 tenths off the pace, as Elite Game Boy pops up to P2 with a 21.3. And VP Veta Racer just lowered the benchmark a lot with a 20.6. So an impressive lap from him. H Eagle puts him to P2. Try to find someone who's coming towards the end of that lap. It's all a bit hectic at the start of this qualifying session, but RT Griggs have put him all the way down as Tactician, second in the championship, puts it second on the grid. Caribbean Crush goes third. On board with Jamie James, who is making his way through the second Lesmo onto the DRS straight. But yeah, a big error there from RC Griggs. And, well, he's got a lot of work to do now in the race.
Yeah, that's especially from, starting plumb last in the wet is going to be an extremely long afternoon for him, as TR Stocky goes on provisional pole with a 1:20.4. He's had a good qualifying record so far this season. Got, I think, 3 poles under his name. So he's very good over the 1 lap. And I think it's already starting to spit with rain here.
Yeah, it looks like that. Definitely looks like that. I was thinking that on the run down to Parabolica with Jamie James, who put it up into 7th. But, yeah. As GR Demon is current second Lesmo.
These might be the laps that count, oddly enough, which is obviously not what we're used to. Usually the track gets better, but with the rain, the track might get slower. Just looking at GR Demon's dashboard, he's 3 tenths down in the first sector alone. See what it comes up, 1.2. So he is going to be a long, long way off.
Yeah, obviously we don't know what that lap is referenced to because he got it invalidated at some point. But Cherry 2 Pie, who's made a few mistakes out there, and well, he's going to struggle to set any sort of representative time with this rain coming down. And well, it was all about delivering on 1 lap, and GR Demon decides to pit, which is an interesting call. Considering this rain's coming down, I don't think he's going to improve later on in the session, so he must have just felt he wouldn't be able to move up. But yeah, so Iceman's found himself all the way down in 9th. No surprises, Rip. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of surprise considering he's the championship leader, but we've seen this before where he's just not delivered in qualifying and has a lot of work to do in the race.
Crow Nexus is improving. Coming out of Parabolica, and he went faster. Didn't improve his position though. So he's all the way down in 12th. Okay, that's an interesting route he's taken through for the first chicane.
Yeah. Obviously, drivers are rushing out there now to try and get a lap in. As Tactician pits, I'm guessing he was still on his in lap then, maybe. Caribbean Crush also on his in lap. Cherry Pie, who's coming out of the pit lane. The rain doesn't look incredibly heavy, but just that slight loss of grip is going to really affect the drivers. And then, as I say that, the rain looks even heavier at Lesmo 1, so it's going to be difficult for the drivers to improve with this rain coming down. It's
kind of an interesting scenario, because we've not had this before, because we're so used to everyone going faster and faster towards the end of the session. And also, the H Eagle and Jamie James have actually set the exact same lap time.
Wow, that is a very good spot. And Pitmat went 1,000th quicker than those two. So, yeah, 3 positions on the grid separated by 1,000.
Did he?
Well, he is.
81,000.
I'm blind, ignore. Right, it's fine. Right. Other one down towards turn 1 with Cherry Pie. Can he get it stopped for turn 1? Brakes it, ran about the normal point, goes in a little bit deep. Had to use second gear just to get that extra bit of rotation. Fighting the rear end on traction. Let's see what his split is when he comes towards the second chicane. But it's looking good for Stocky at this point in time, because having provisional pole at this point is definitely going to be big, because there's just so little grip out there. I don't think we're going to see drivers improve unless this rain somehow disappears in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, Cherry Pie's 3 cents, well, a little over 2.5 cents slower in the first sector. That's a lot of understeer for the second Lesmo as well.
Yeah.
Let's see what his middle sector time is. This is going to be the big indication as to whether or not these guys are going to go faster. He is 3/10 faster in the middle sector than his previous lap, so clearly there is some grip out there.
What's his previous lap time though?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a 23.2.
Yeah, I did get the sense, because this lap has been in no way quick. So he comes round the final corner. I'm guessing he just finished the lap. May as well. There's a 23.1, nowhere near anyone else. See if anyone else out. See if anyone else out there.
GR Demon almost lost it and went into the gravel trap at the second chicane. Okay, there's a lot of oversteer for him.
Cherry Pie retires. I don't know whether that's because, I'm guessing it's just because
he retired.
Yeah, down into towards turn 1 with pit mat. Gets it stuck quite nicely. Finds the rear end once again and decides that, well, obviously they get an active delta, so if he's just recognised that he's too far off, then he's not going to bother competing the laps. Jockey has chosen to retire, and I think it's going to be a common theme.
Yeah,
McGrady has just gone very deep into Ascari. Just no grip for them out there, and it was that first run that counted, and so that meant the Toro Rosso driver has put it onto pole, and well, we're set up for a good race here. Always. You usually get a good race when you've got changeable conditions in the air.
Yeah, I mean, the only person we can really watch now is GR Demon, because he's the only one who is yet to set a time anyway. So he is just trying to go for 13th place.
Yeah.
At this point, it baffles me. He's judging by that chicane.
No, he's given up.
He's retired. It completely baffles me why he didn't complete the lap on the previous run.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is if he got invalidated, but that's the only possible reason that his Jundu is the latest person to decide there's going to be no grip out there. Cronex just tries to break for the second chicane. Gets a stop quite nice, actually. And,
it's actually quite nice watching these guys struggle.
They're going to do a whole lot more of struggling if we're starting on wet. If we're starting in the wet conditions. Obviously, we don't know how wet it's going to be out there. If we'll be starting on the full wets or inters, but
to be fair, if the conditions are going to be like this, obviously it's going to, be wet. Well, from what we're hearing, it's going to be wet to dry instead of dry to wet. But it's good. It's good practice, if you will, for the race. If it's going to be similar conditions.
Yeah. Tacticians feeling the need to carry on.
It's the only reason as to why I think these guys are still going round.
Yeah, but I think we can pretty confidently declare that Stocky has taken pole here at Monza. Ex-Caribbean Crusher will line up on the front row alongside him. Less than a tenth off the Toro Rosso driver. A good effort from the Renault there. VP Vet Racer in the Haas, once again, he just comes up with performances out of nowhere, really, does VP Vet Racer. Won in Spain, took second in Hungary, and has really been been nowhere really in the other races. But yeah, so good performance there from the Haas driver. McGray qualifies fourth. I mean, obviously not a bad place to start, but considering where he usually starts, we usually see him on the front row, so he might be a little bit disappointed with that. And Tactician, who we're currently watching, will round out the top 5. But yeah, and he does actually pit. But yeah.
I mean, it's the first time McGrady's not been on pole.
Is
the
it?
races that he's shown up to, yeah. He's been on pole every single race that he's been to.
Wow, well there's a stat for you. So he's got some work to do. But as we can see, by 95 thousandths, it's a Toro Rosso man on pole. Tactician, as I said, was 5th. Pitmat 6th. And good return to the lead for him. The H Eagles 7th. Jamie James will line up on the 4th row alongside the Toro Rosso driver. Iceman 9th. Not really a good qualifying for him. He's got a lot of work to do in the race. Elite Game Boy rounds out the top 10. Jundu 11th. Cronex is 12th. Cherry Pie 13th. GR Demon 14th. And RC Gwiggs is 15th, who obviously retired very early on in this session. But I'm very much looking forward to this race, Shane. Any predictions from you?
There's not a chance I'm predicting what happens in this race.
Oh my God, the drivers are in for a fun experience today. The monsoon has come out for them today. That is heavy wet conditions. I presume they'll be using the storm indicator that the drivers get when looking at the weather on their dashboard thing. So hey, it's going to be a fun run down to turn 1 for them.
There's a lot of people without umbrellas in the pit lane.
They're all getting very, very wet. It's not what you like to see, but good to see that they're still clapping on.
Yeah, they're excited.
I'm seeing a few red wall tyres in the Mercedes garage. Optimistic, to say the least. But, we're getting ready for the start of this Italian Grand Prix, and Stocky is going to have to fend off 14 people who will be very eager to make up positions just behind him. The start of the Italian Grand Prix, 5 lights here in Monza, and we are away. All trying to find some traction in the lower gears, just trying to upshift in as soon as possible. Stucky comes over to cover over ex-Caribbean Crush, who tries to get into the slipstream on the run down to turn 1. Just trying to work out where do you brake. Stucky just about making the corner. McGrady looks like he's found his way up into P3, Pitman up into 4th. And VP Better Racers lost a whole host of positions on this first lap, but Stucky is out in front and has maintained the lead.
Iceman's dropped all the way to the back, and some of these guys, interestingly, have gone for intermediates, which is Iceman's struggling through Curva Grande to get through on
intermediates. Crush has gone up the inside, and Stucky's got a 3-second time penalty for doing absolutely nothing wrong. He was forced off the track by the Renault, and as you say, VP Better Racers and Tactician have gone for Inters, and Stucky has appeared to have pulled over there for ex-Caribbean Crush to let him through. Bizarre. I don't know what happened there.
Oh my God. 3P Battle Racer is struggling like no other, and it's no surprise considering the amount of water that's on the racetrack. I don't know why these guys have gone for Inters. It's a very bizarre call, as now Tactician is about to be swamped on the run up to Ascari.
Yeah, Crow Nexus looking up the inside. I mean, have you seen the conditions? It's weather here in Monza. Iceman's also gone for the Inters. The only possible explanation that I can think of is that on the weather indicator it shows that it's going to be drying up very soon. We're on the run down to Parabolica and I can't see a thing on the broadcast. Nexus has gone up the inside of the Red Bull. That's also RC Griggs, who's gone from 15th to 7th on the first lap here in Monza.
That is impressive.
A very good start, this driver. But yeah, wow. A very bold call from our 2 championship leaders have decided that Inters are the great good tyre in this weather.
I mean, there's a lot. I'm speechless, to be quite honest. Obviously, the big winner from that is Griggs, up from very last, as Dan said. Cronexus is also up 6 places. I think Iceman is the kind of big loser. Danny Dames has also lost 7 places off the start as well, but that is completely insane. I do not have any idea what could go through the mind to stick on a set of intermediates in these conditions.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Matt's past McGrady for 3rd.
Oh, sorry, yeah, we're missing in this in the heat. Oh, there's a McLaren off there of Cherry Pie. He just lost out of Lesmo too. That's promoted GR Demon and Tactician up a place, but yeah, it's a crazy call. Obviously, what they're trying to do is effectively miss out a pit stop, is what they're trying to do. But they're going to lose a pit stop because they're so slow out there. GR Demon's all over the back of Tactician, not something we're saying very often this season. And the Williams driver on the front down to Parabolica. I mean, who in their right mind has decided that Inters are a good tyre in these conditions? GR Demon goes very deep into Parabolica, just about gets it stopped, and now Tactician's under pressure from Cherry 2 Pie. And, well, I think he's trying to see through the weather as Chrome Nexus sat there fastest up in 6th place. Unbelievable, really, as Elite Game Boy is trying to pass McLaren as well. It's all kicking off at the start of this Italian Grand Prix, and there's just so much action happening because these guys on Inters have got no grip at all.
And the impressive part is, Xcavian Crush up front is driving away from Stocky. I didn't really expect that because Stocky has kind of got an element that he can just drive up the way from the field, but it looks like he's got a much better lap 3, so it looks like he's finding his feet in these conditions, as Pitmat has got a long train behind him.
Yep, obviously found his way past the Toro Rosso driver, but hasn't been able to pull away from him, and he's got himself in third all the way down to RC Griggs in 7th, who is ready to capitalise on any mistake he makes. In towards Ascari we go. And it's so difficult for these drivers. Like, the wet weather on this game and the setups that you have to run just makes it insanely difficult to control your rear end and have any confidence in pushing. But nevertheless, this is what the drivers have got to do. The spray on the run down to Parabolica is absolutely insane.
Can't see a thing.
And it's no surprise to see that the 3 guys who decided that Inters were a good call have worked their way all the way to the back of the grid.
Yeah, they're 15 seconds, almost 16 seconds off the lead now. So, you know, you're going to have, what, another lap and a half? And that call will not work.
Yeah.
It's extremely surprising as things are hotting up for 3rd place. H-Eagle, very eager to get past Pitmat. Pitmat doing a fine job in his first race of this season in F2. And is holding on to that position really well. As Stocky is getting very close now to Xcavian Crush's Griggs. It's past Cronexus now.
Yeah, Cronexus had a wobble through turn 2, well, on the exit of the first chicane, and obviously that's given the Mercedes a good chance as the H-Eagles under pressure from the grade. It just about holds on to that P4 for the time being, but as you were saying, Stocky has closed in on the Renault ahead. The gap down to 5/10, so something is happening behind because Shane's making weird noises.
Yeah, McGrady was still on the inside for Lesmo 2, and the H-Eagles now having to defend on the run-up towards Ascari. McGrady with the better straight-line speed, not going to be able to go all the way around the outside of Ascari.
Oh, RC Griggs, where are you going there, mate? He's gone off the track, and that's Cronexus through up into 6th. RC Griggs has been a flying start to this Grand Prix, and he's just made an error that's cost him a place. Yeah. But up front, Stocky is closing in on Ex-Caribbean Crush, the gap down to 0.4 of a second. As we come from, I thought Stocky was about to go into the pit lane there. I was like, please don't go for Inters at this point. As we head down on the run down towards turn 1. Toro Rosso driver getting into the decision, but obviously no DRS in these conditions. So it's going to be very difficult to find a way past. And no, the Renault driver just holds on for the time being. As Pitmat has now got a 1.3 second buffer. And that is just so nice as a driver, because Pitman might have better pace than the Toro Rosso driver, but with the constant pressure behind you, it's so difficult to push as a driver.
Can we have more wet races? I'm okay with this. Carrion Crush has cut the second chicane a lot. He's just gone way too deep into the second chicane. And in the battle, he's starting to feel the pressure of Peter Stockwin in that Toro Rosso. He's given up the advantage he's gained because Stocky's back within 0.4 of a second again, and he's not going to be close enough for a run into Ascari. I think he's going to be too far back. But yeah, Pitmat obviously with the battling that McGrady and the H-Eagle were doing, he's managed to get a buffer with Pitmat. So now things are starting to spread out. A
little bit. It's definitely not spreading out for the battle for the lead though, because Stocky has got a great run coming out of Ascari. Looking to the inside, but Parabolic is on the inside. Oh my god, that is very ballsy for a move on lap 5. The Renault driver just about hangs on for the time being, but on the exit, the Toro Rosso driver is going to get into that slipstream once again. There's Caribbean Crush, goes towards the inside line. Stocky's gaining. He goes to the outside. We've got a great shot here down in towards turn 1. Caribbean Crush trying to defend that outside. Stocky round the outside. No, he's gone in too deep, and he's picked up another time penalty. As he's now up to 6 seconds now through. Well, I mean, the first one was definitely not his fault. And, well, the second one, I don't think it was his fault either, but this battle for the lead doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon, and I'm absolutely loving the start of this Grand Prix. The H-Eagle has closed up into Pitmat, so he's clearly got decent pace in these wet weather conditions. And, well, McGrady just behind, he's 1.3 seconds away, and RC Griggs has fallen behind Jundu at some point as well.
Yeah, I think it was like Stocky's lost any advantage he's gained from that. So I think it's quite an unfair penalty, which I think he'll probably try and get removed at the end of the race. And GR Demon has come in and put intermediates on, which is interesting. I think
it's definitely brightening up.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to. Right, I'll have a quick look at the lap times of what the guys on Inters are doing, because on the last lap, the Inters are definitely getting faster and faster. Because the H Eagles set the fastest lap on the last lap, but I don't think they'll be as fast as the Wets.
Yeah, so VP of that race is still losing time to the leaders. The gap's around about 20 seconds, and Stocky has come into the pit lane. So have the drivers decided this is the crossover point? Pitmat has followed him in here, but McGrady set the fastest lap on the wets. But I think the key point is we'll see what VP of that racer does on this lap, and that'll give us a true indication of what the pace is like on those inters.
Right, let's have a look. Waiting for the guys on inters to put in their laps.
And crucially, VP of that racer has emerged out, so has Iceman, ahead of Stocky.
Well, that gamble has worked. Oh my god! Just about got it through the first chicane. They're not as fast. The guys on Inters, though, they're not as fast as, well, at least McGrady on the last lap. They're still like a second and a half slower. The time's just going to come to them.
Yeah, so VP of that racer is now 19.7 seconds off the lead. So this gap is coming down. So the Inters are now the quicker tyre. And obviously you've got to factor in that on quite old Inters, so if you compare it to Stocky's pace, who's got new Inters as well, then you would expect the Inters is the better tyre. But we said they were idiots for doing it, and to be fair, it has kind of paid off. The only slight problem they've got now is that they are on much more worn tyres and haven't gained a lot. They have gained an amount, but considering Victor that racer started in third, then he could have definitely had a chance to be in a similar position to what he's in now, as Gianni picks up a 3-second time penalty, and everyone is coming to the pits except RC Gwiggs, who's decided to hang it out on the wet. As McGrady's got a front wing change in that as well. So Ex-Caribbean Crush comes out of the pit lane, and he's behind Stocky now. Hasn't lost a lot of time in that, but has lost obviously a position to Stocky. But not being a horrendous decision to stay out for another lap. But once RC Gwiggs presumably end of this lap, you feel better racer is going to assume a lead, and we're going to have two drivers out front who definitely they're slower, considering the fact they'll have a lot more players.
I'll tell you who this hasn't worked out for. Tactician. Tactician is 8th, behind 3-4 people who actually pitted. So he was so slow at the very start of the race that he's lost an awful lot of time, because he dropped all the way to the back. He was first of the guys who started on Inters, I think. He dropped all the way to the back, clearly just not adjusting to the conditions. But now he's got quite a good run on Pitmat. Pitmat defends on the run up towards Ascari, and Pitmat braking late. Will he make the corner? He runs off the track, keeps the position, but this is going to give Tactician a very nice run on the run up towards Parabolica. He goes to the left, the only place he can go. Will he have enough straight line speed to go around the outside before they get to the corner? No, not quite. Pitmat again later on the brakes, and Tactician unable to find a way past as VP Rattle Racer now sets the fastest lap of the race, just confirming that the Inters are definitely the quicker tyre now, and Griggs' lead is going to be eaten up.
Yeah, Gwiggs is on what can only be described as an staying out on wets is as someone behind Tactician, Cronex has cut the chicane there and picks up a 5-second stop, go for it. I can only presume he's trying to hang it out for dries, and I'm not going to tell anyone that the strategy is wrong now, because I've been proved wrong once already in this race. So I'm just going to let people try and do what they want, but he's losing about a second every time we go over a sector split. So it's not looking good for him at this point.
Yeah, he did a 36.2 last lap, and VP Better Racer did a 32.1. So he lost 4 seconds on the previous lap.
Yeah, that gap's continually coming down. His gap has now been dissipated, and VP Better Racer probably going to make him for the lead pretty soon. As Stocky's getting... Go on.
Yeah, Tactician got very close once again on the run up to Ascari on pit map, and tapped the back of him slightly. And I'm just going to switch back to the very, very important battle we've got between Iceman and Stocky. Obviously, this is basically for the championship.
Vettel Racer gets past Griggs for the lead, by the way.
It looked very easy. Stocky having a look up the inside into the first chicane, and doesn't make the move stick as Cherry Pie sets the fastest lap on a 31.7. So, yeah, this is quite important for the championship for Stocky to try and pass Iceman and then get up the road and pass Griggs, which I don't think will be difficult, and then catch up to the VP Better Racers. Jamie James has got another 3-second time penalty to second the race, and has actually retired from the race. Oh, he's crashed. He's crashed at Ascari.
Yeah, Tactician's found a way past pit map. So those All-Inters still working reasonably well for him. Still been able to make up a couple of positions since everyone's coming for the Inters, as Stocky is now behind, well, still behind Iceman, but they're coming up to RC Griggs pretty rapidly, as VP Better Racer has already got a 3.8 second gap on him, and we've only done 2 sectors since he passed him. So I think that gives you a pretty clear indication of where the Mercedes driver's pace is right now. And well, it was a very, very odd call that's not paying off well at this point, as Iceman's getting very close into Parabolica.
He's just not... He has no ability to just turn in or get on the power. You just see he just wobbles out the way of second and third, and you just see him struggling out of the corners. He just can't get on the power at all, and he's lost 6 seconds that lap to the race leader on the lap that he got past. There's now Stocky with quite a nice run on Iceman. Is he going for the move? Yes, he is. He's down the inside into turn 1. They touch slightly, and Iceman's going to have his line compromised on the exit. He tries to run him wide. That was very, very cheeky from Iceland. He did not give him a lot of space. Scabian Crush now passes Griggs, and I kind of feel bad for Griggs because as he struggles to get through Curva Grande, and the H Eagle now having a look up the inside. He's not got it stopped for the second chicane at all. He's just floated off the racetrack.
Yeah, Tactician finds a way past through the gravel trap, and now the Sauber pit map is up the inside of the Mercedes driver as well, as McGrady picks up a time penalty as well. He found himself all the way down in 12th. Obviously he pitted and had to have a front wing change, which obviously cost him a lot of time. Back to the battle for second though, as Kranex is the next one, as McGrady has retired from the race. So I don't know what's happened to him. Whether it's just he's lost his front wing.
He's reversed. He's reversed out of the gravel trap. The first night.
Yeah.
I don't know
so
what's happened there.
Not able to repeat the performance we saw last time out in Spa. But it's looking good for VP Better Racer right now. 6.4 second gap, and Stocky is definitely caught up behind the Renault of Iceman. I feel like if he was released, he'd have definitely enough pace to pull away from the Renault driver to run on the run down towards turn 1. It's surely going to make a move this time. Looks up the inside. Can he get it? Locks up. Just gets it stopped. Giardim is the next one to retire. As coming out of turn 1, first chicane. And Stocky's getting increasingly frustrated. He's just trying to find any way past through the Renault. But what this is doing is allowing Iceman's teammate Next Caribbean Crush to get all over the back of these two as well.
Iceman's wide through the chicane. Gets it done slightly. And Griggs has finally come in and put a set of Inters on. That gamble did not work at all, which is kind of disappointing considering he had a fantastic start. And obviously with the bad luck that he suffered in Belgium as well towards the end of the race, after it looked like he was going to get a very good result with I think 5th or 6th place. That's extremely disappointing for him. But I think that was kind of his own fault, sadly, this time around. And you can just tell that Stocky got more grip. He's able to hold such a better line than Iceman through the corners, and Iceman's just sliding around. And it says a lot when Stocky's managed to get a decent run on the run down to Parabolica. I thought he was going for it then.
I'm surprised he's gone for that, because what he's done is compromise himself for the main straight, but nevertheless, he's not going to come under much pressure from the Renault of X-Cara being crushed, so he should be fine on the run down towards turn 1 in that slipstream. Once again, he's just got to find a way of getting up the inside and then sort of getting it stopped. But he's just not able to do it. And it continues to get drier here at Monza. Don't know when we're going to be on the dry tyres though. Still looks a fair way away.
Leave it at Gwiggs.
Yeah. I think he expected it to come a lot sooner. But all these drivers are now stuck behind Iceman, all the way from 2nd to 7th. No real major gaps. The only slightly big ones are between the H Eagle and Tactician, and that's at 1.1 seconds. So a lot of drivers now stuck behind Iceman, and it's Vettel Racer out front who's got a 6.8 second gap. And that gamble that he took at the start of the race appears to have paid off right now.
Yeah, especially now that Stocky's kind of Iceman is kind of the cork in the bottle, really. As soon as, I think, when, it's not a matter of if, it's definitely a case of when Stocky gets past Iceman, he's just gonna catch him very quickly indeed. Iceman's pulling the gap down slightly to VP Vettel Racer, because the gap was up to 7 seconds as he's wide again through Parabolica, and Stocky gets on the power relatively nicely, but Iceman's actually got a good run through Parabolica on the exit of Parabolica that time. And Stocky, I don't think it's going to be close enough for a little damn move on the brakes.
Yeah, I think Iceman was just setting himself up there for a good exit. He knows that if he gets a good exit from every single corner, then Stocky's not going to be able to find a way anyway past him. So Iceman playing it pretty intelligently at this point, and well, as he's saying, the gap is coming down slightly between him and Vettel Racer. It's down to 6.4 seconds now. Whether Vettel Racer's starting to struggle on his tyres, I don't know. Iceman very wide though through the second chicane. Just wasn't able to hook it up on the first apex. But I do wonder if these guys who started on the Inters are now going to start struggling on their tyres, because they're onto the 14th lap now, and the tyre wear must surely start setting in at some point.
I really want to see Stocky go for a move. I just want him to go for a move around the outside of Parabolica, and he'll have the position. I think.
Oh, he's got a good exit.
Got a very good run this time through Ascari, and he's not well. He had a good run through Ascari. The exit wasn't as good, and that's allowed Iceman to just creep away slightly, and Stocky choosing to take a later apex to try and get himself a much better drive, which he's got this time. On the run down towards turn 1, across the start-finish line they go to start lap 15 of the race. And here we go into turn 1. He's going to put out the slipstream just about now, and he's going to go for it on the brakes. That's a lot further along the side. Oh, that was cheeky. He's given Iceman just about enough room on the X, and obviously with how much better tyres his conditions are, he just out-drags the Renault. The two Renaults are now side by side with each other. Gavin Crush trying to go around the outside of Curva Grande, but obviously that becomes the inside for the second chicane, but he's not managed to make it work and hold it around the outside, and Iceman holds on to that third place, but for how much longer?
Yeah, I thought it was about to be a double whammy for Iceman as Stocky found a way past on the exit of turn 1 or turn 2. Actually don't know at this track, but yeah, X-Cara being crushed didn't get the move done down into the second chicane. He had to stay behind his teammate for a bit, but Stocky had to get aggressive. He knew that because he tried on previous laps and had just been out-muscled by Iceman, so had to get aggressive down into turn 1, and that is indeed what he did. And now we've got to see what sort of pace he's on these intermediate tyres. And obviously it does appear to be getting slightly drier from what I can tell, but the rain is still coming down. So I don't know if we'll have one final crossover period onto the dry tyres.
Obviously, the big point as to when everyone can switch to dries is when the DRS gets enabled. That's usually the big indication that it's okay for the slick tyres. Everyone's kind of evened themselves out and calmed down for a bit. Disappointingly, Stocky's gone very, very deep into the first chicane. And that... Oh my god, Iceman's lost it!
Yes, he has on the exit, and that's allowed his teammate of X-Carrier being crushed through. I think he might just be able to keep his composure and defend from the H-Eagle behind him, but that has relegated the Renault down into fourth, just struggling for traction there. And, well, as you said, Stocky made a mistake. Iceman went and made a bigger one.
Yeah, that's a rare mistake from Iceman. We don't often see mistakes from him. But Caribbean crushed, now getting very wide and wobbling around in front of his teammate. But I think that's probably an indication that we're going to see slicks soon, because these guys are all starting to struggle now. And you know what? VP Battle Racers holding his own very, very nicely up front, and very consistent in his lap times as well. Alright, so now the attention turns. Iceland's really starting to struggle on his rear tyres, I think, because he's just had a big wobble out of Ascari as well, and that's allowed the H-Eagle to have, or to get closer to him. And you can just tell that Iceman is struggling for grip all around, I think, because these guys around him are able to just turn in that little bit more. And will the H-Eagle have the same straight line speed as his teammate? He does not. No. Iceman's actually pulling away down the straight.
Yep, as Cherry Pie comes in with the fastest lap of 31.6, giving us a little bit of an indication that it's probably getting a little bit drier out there. But it's all still so close, all the way down from 2nd to 10th. Really isn't separated by a lot. So that's what I was just commenting on. There's going to be another crossover window. If someone nails it, they're going to be gaining 3-4 positions at this point.
Very good spot indeed. Well, they're covered by, what, I'd say 5, 6, 7 seconds. That's not a lot, especially
from Stocky to Cherry Pie, it's 10 seconds is the gap between those.
Okay, right. I think. Okay, the H-Eagle with a wobble out of the second last night. No major mistakes from these top guys. Well, tacticians. You can actually see the wear levels, I think, on the tyres slightly. The tyres, for me at least, look a little bit lighter, a lighter shade on the guys that pitted earlier, which is actually kind of interesting to see, especially tactician, which is kind of a reason to explain why on earth he's struggling so much, because he just looks like he's eating through his tyres. The oversteer on the exit of Parabolica confirms that. Yeah,
it looks like he's got a graining patch on both of his front tyres as well, which is not going to be helping him. No such problems though for the H-Eagle, who is once again very close to Iceman, but just doesn't have the straight line speed to make a move. Stocky's got that gap down to 5.8 out front, so he's definitely gaining on the Haas driver. And the thing for these guys who started on the Inters is, the longer it stays in these conditions, the worse it gets for them. Because if it starts getting drier, and also obviously just more laps on the tyres, it's an absolute nightmare on these Inters. So they'll be praying for these slick tyres to start coming soon.
Yeah, VP Battle Racers and Tacticians front tyres look about in the same condition. Iceman's looks decent, but obviously nowhere near as good as what the guys who pitted later on in the race do. So Iceman's tyre wear is fine. He's just struggling for overall pace at the moment, and Stocky is eating into that gap of VP Battle Racer up front.
The only saving grace for VP Battle Racer is that it's definitely getting drier.
It's
down to 4.6 seconds, but you can just visually tell that these dry tyres are not going to be far away. I would say a max of another maybe 1 or 2 laps, and then they're going to be in, because well, I wouldn't be surprised if someone throws the dice on this lap.
Eagerly awaiting for it, they don't.
As Stocky sets the fastest lap actually, 31.3, so Still grip there out there on the inters, but confirming that it is starting to get a lot drier. But
VP Retro Racer did a 32.8 that lap.
Yeah, so 1.5 seconds off. So another lap like that for Stocky, and that gap will be down to 3 seconds. And you'd say that's round about what you're going to gain if you pit a lap or so earlier for those dry tyres. Because obviously, when they do come out on dries, they're going to struggle for grip slightly, considering the track will still be damp. But obviously, overall, it will still be quicker than the old inters. But so many cars close together behind Iceman. 4th to 8th is separated by around about, is that about 3 seconds? So if any one of those gets the crossover point right, then they're going to gain a lot of time. And Iceman's tyres are absolutely shot. So,
yeah, Griggs have gone for it. He's gone for the dry tyres. Obviously, he's got nothing to lose down at the back on his own. And Iceman struggles through Ascari. This is so fun to watch.
Yeah, the
H-Eagle just hasn't got enough straight line speed to get past, though. That's the big problem for him.
Yeah.
Like Stocky at least had the straight line speed. Iceman has got no grip at all. Is he going? He's gone for it.
He's gone for it. Not surprised at all, because he had absolutely. He's got a 5 seconds stop go for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, what has he done? Everyone's coming. Tactician, Pitmac, Cronexus, Jundu and Cherry Pipe and Elite Game Boy have all felt the need to come for dry tyres. So whether Jeff's been on the radio telling them, Cronexus serving his 5 second stop go, Iceman comes out on inters, and Pitmac also comes out Tactician as well. And has Pitmac jumped Tactician in the pit lane? I think he has.
He has. Stocky has got, I'd say, a legitimate penalty this time.
Yeah. So the first one of his, free penalties that actually seems to be logical.
Yeah. The how quickly can these guys on dry tyres switch these on? That's going to be the big question here. 1 lap 20, it's bloody flames.
Oh god! Oh god! Iceman into the second chicane, locked up, was so tentative, and then just felt he had the confidence to turn in the car, and the car was like, nope, and the rear end just snapped on him. And, well, that will definitely be a little bit of a confidence breaker. A bit of understeer there through Lesmo too as well. But I think I actually don't know if he's gaining time. I haven't really been looking.
He's gaining time on the H-Eagle. The leaders come in. This is going to be extremely close when these come out.
As Jundu picks up a 3 seconds.
Jundu and Elite Game Boy picking up penalties. Quite easy to do at Monza. See how these pit stops go. They look like they all were fine.
Caribbean Crush. Iceman's coming over the start-finish line. Who is that coming out of the pit lane? That's Caribbean Crush there. So, well, it's worked out quite well for Iceman, because he jumped his teammate and is back up into P3. And with Stocky's time penalties, well, obviously, some of those might be dismissed, but at the moment, he should be getting up into P2.
Yeah, but he's got a penalty as well, doesn't he?
Iceman. Yeah, but Stocky currently has 9 seconds worth of time penalties.
Yeah, but Iceman's got 5.
Ah! Did forget about that one. Yes, he did. Right. So, everything still could change over the finish line here. So, a lot still to sort out in the remaining 6.5 laps of this enthralling Italian Grand Prix. Stocky is going to try and gain on Vehicle Veta Racer, the gap at 2.1. Obviously, it's just going to be who adjusts to these dry tyres quickest. Switch back to that to try and find out who is in a battle. Pitmat currently in P5. The H-Eagle picks up a time penalty. And I don't know what's happened to him. Did he stay out an extra lap? Because it really hasn't worked out well for him.
I don't know. I'll be honest, I wasn't paying much attention to him at the time. But Iceman, even on these tyres, looks like he's struggling. Because he was very, very slow through the parabolic, through Ascari. and Caribbean Crush got a very nice run and got himself within DRS as he clumps the inside curb, and we could have a battle between the two Renaults for a final podium spot.
Yeah, Tactician's briefly switched to Inters there during Curva Grande, but back to the super soft tyre he goes, and he's getting on pit mat as well. So this battle for P3 is very much hotting up. Obviously, Iceman's penalty will be factored in, but Caribbean Crush has picked up a 3-second time penalty. There's so much happening during this race. It's been impossible to keep up with what's happening. People are just picking up penalties left, right and centre at the moment, as Stocky's got the gap out front down to 1.6 seconds, so he could be set for a great ending out front as we head into Ascari. As Iceman seems to have gained a little bit of composure. Pit Matt now picks up a penalty, so God knows where drivers are going to end up at the end of this race.
This has been a good race. I think we want some more changeable conditions towards the end of the season, because this has thrown up everything in the air and makes it very interesting for the championship as well.
Petnat and Tactician are side by side on the run down towards turn 1, and actually Tactician got such a good run out of Parabolica. They was able to pull alongside and got past him even before they opened DRS. So that's the Red Bull up into P5, and well, I haven't seen him pick up a time penalty so far yet this race, but I could be wrong. But if he stays in that position, then he's set to gain a couple of positions at this point.
Pitmat, I think, made a mistake. He must have done, because that was a very weird place for Tactician to pass him on the exit of Parabolica.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a major mistake though. He just got a much better run out of Parabolica, because I was on board with them, and he just got a much better exit. Had a lot more confidence there. So Caribbean Crush starting to enjoy the grip of this super soft tyre, and is gaining in on his teammate. That gap at 4 tenths. Obviously, with them now being on dry tyres, they'll have the use of DRS and the run down to Ascaris, and obviously on the run down to turn 1 as well. VPIL Veta Racer out front looks to be doing just enough to hold off Stocky. The gap down to 1.4, but that gap's only coming down marginally. But the Toro Rosso driver certainly isn't going to give that up, and Tactician seems to have some pretty good pace in these dry tyres, because he's now catching up to the two Renaults as well.
Times are coming down, fastest laps are being set everywhere you look. Tactician getting a fast lap, just confirming what you were saying. The main saving grace I'd say Iceman's got at the minute is he has an entire lap of fuel to use. Caribbean Crush and Tactician in 4th and 5th do not. They are pretty much borderline on fuel at the moment. It's the same for VP Veta Racer up front as well. He's pretty much borderline, and Stocky's only got a tiny bit more fuel. So Iceman's safe in that respect, in the sense that he can put it into a higher mode if he needs it come the last 3.5 laps of this race. And Caribbean Crush just does not have enough straight line speed to get past his teammate. He's probably got to rely on a mistake from Iceman, which doesn't happen too often, but it has happened so far this race. We've seen it. And can he get... It was a good run out of Ascari, but once again Iceman just edges away on the straight. Yeah,
Cherry Pie picks up another time penalty. I think that's his second one in only a space of a few laps, so he's racking them up at the end of this Grand Prix. Stocky goes fastest lap with a 22.3. See if anyone can beat that. But ex-Caribbean Crush will have DRS. He's only 3 tenths away, but just isn't gaining on his teammate on the run down towards turn 1, and has to hold position for the time being. Clunks that curb at turn 1. And is this going to give Tactician a good run now through turn 2? No, he's not. It's just not close enough to the Renault driver. Have to hold position for the time being. But well, even after they all cross the finish line, there's going to be a lot of position changes, because there's been so many penalties not kept up with. Tactician gets a great exit through the second chicane. Will he go the inside of Let's Mode 1? Oh god, it thought about it, didn't he? Yeah. He got such a great exit, got a great run through there. His pace in the dries had been pretty scintillating. Compared to his wet weather pace, it's been a different league. But on the run down to Ascari, Caribbean Crush will have the DRS to defend from the Red Bull driver. who I'd suspect has been running more of a dry setup compared to those who made some serious alterations for the wet weather.
It makes sense because he just on board with him. He just looks like he's able to carry more speed everywhere.
Yeah.
Not close enough for a good. Caribbean Crush might have a run on his teammate actually into turn 1. Here we go. Down the straight we go. Surely he's going to go for it this time. He does not.
No, just not close enough.
Genuinely thought he would have gone for that.
RC Griggs pops up again with a 3-second time penalty. His strategy mid-race of staying out on those wet weather tyres not worked at all. Can confidently say that one now. As I made a bit of a mess of the first strategy call, as the 3 guys who decided to start on inters are all now within the top 5. But you know, we all make mistakes. I think it's almost
at the time it looked like a horrendous call.
Yeah.
But obviously they get a much better idea of what the weather's going to do at what time because they get to see it on the monitors before on the grid. So we got it wrong on that occasion, as Dan said. 3 of them are in the top 5, and
it's almost like the
it worked
opposite.
out well for them.
Yeah, it's almost the opposite of the commentator's curse, really.
Yeah.
Somehow he made it work for them. But these 4 are still so close, all behind Iceman. Iceman seems to have had a train behind him this entire race, but still finds himself in a decent position in P3 as we head on to the final lap here in Monza. And well, it looks like it's going to be the Haas driver's 2nd win of the season, and they've done it through a brilliant strategy. The H-Eagle comes in with fastest lap, but there doesn't seem to be anyone that close to each other apart from this battle between 3rd to 6th, as Cherry Pie has retired from the race. A weird one to retire with only a lap to go.
Yeah, the incident he was off at the last corner.
Okay. But Iceman's got 1 more lap now to defend from the pack behind him. Oh, Tactician has picked up a 3-second time penalty. That could be crucial at the end of this race.
Yeah, he probably would have ended up. Probably might have been. Well, he would have been 3rd. Probably might have been 2nd, depending on whether Stocky gets penalties removed or not. But Stocky has been unable to get within the DRS zone and challenge VP Better Racer, and a bold call at the very start of the race has meant VP Better Racer comes round the last corner to take a very impressive win.
Yeah, it's his 2nd win of the season and thoroughly deserved. Stocky comes home P2. Iceman, we'll see where he ends up. He goes 2nd, Caribbean Crush 3rd, Tactician comes 5th. Obviously we've got Iceman's penalty to apply to that, and Tactician's time penalty has cost him dearly in this race. Pitmat 6th, John Dew 7th, Cronexus 8th, the H-Eagle 9th, Elite Game Boy 10th, and RC Griggs will be the last of the drivers to finish it, but thoroughly deserved for VP Vata Racer, as he made that strategy of going on the inters at the start. It must have been absolutely awful in those conditions. It was literally a monsoon. You could not see more than about 10 feet in front of you, but he held out for those first 5 or so laps, and then the grip came to him, and he's had the lead since then and never relinquished it. And
that was an awesome. That was a completely awesome race. I love that. I think with Iceman's penalty applied, he'll drop down to 6th. So I think Caribbean Crush will be 2nd, and Stocky will be 3rd.
Okay. Well, recap that for you
next week.
Yeah. Obviously, Stocky will be trying to get a couple of his penalties removed, because they didn't seem very fair, especially the first couple. So a lot still to sort out in this Italian Grand Prix, but I think we can say with very much certainty that Vipu Vataracer has won today. I think the only driver not to pick up a time penalty that finished, so very impressive from him. And he wins ahead of Iceman, which was a bit... I don't think he's actually 2nd. I think Ex-Caribbean Crush is 2nd, but
But
Stocky,
that would depend on Socky's penalties, yeah.
yeah, Stocky temporarily 4th, Tactician 5th, Pitmat 6th, Jundu 7th, Krenex is 8th, the H Eagle 9th, and Elite Game Boy rounds out the points. RC Quigs was the only other finisher. And, well, Shane, who was your driver of the day?
VP Retro Racer. He made the bold call, kept it on the track, didn't make any mistakes, and definitely deserves the win.
Yep. We called him an idiot after 8 minutes of this race, but he knew what he was doing more than we did.
I still find it amazing that even after the race has ended, we still don't know what's going to happen.
No.
In terms of the results.
Yeah.
Just to put it into perspective of how crazy this race was.
The stewards have got a lot of sorting out to do after this race. But, yeah, that has been a fantastic Italian Grand Prix. We had, I mean, it wasn't a terrible race in Spa, but it didn't really live up to its full potential, but this one definitely did. I don't know where we are next week. Any idea, Shane?
I think it's Singapore. Yeah, Singapore.
Okay, so a different test for the drivers, though. It's gone from a very high-speed circuit to a street circuit, which is going to require a lot of concentration. But hopefully you'll join us then. And until next time, it's bye-bye.